Hi everyone, welcome to Hatton Consulting's video blog number 2, and today we're going to pick up our discussion with inflation, and that seems to be a very big worry for a lot of people. There are two kinds of inflation. People get them a little bit confused. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is just a simple definition. But we have what is called monetary inflation, and then we have price inflation. They are related, not directly all of the time, but the basic idea behind monetary inflation is to measure the growth of the money supply. Now I want to try to keep this as simple as I can because it can get very technical. But the chart that you see right now shows the money supply measured by M1, which is basically money in your checking account and money in your pocket, back in 1975 was $243 billion. Today, we're over $2.3 trillion. And that's pretty much a good definition of monetary inflation, a sustained increase in the money supply. And that normally is going to lead to price inflation, where we actually see the price of things, goods, and services going up. But what a lot of you are worried about is this monetary inflation. It's really a literal printing of money that is going on. Now, monetary inflation is good to a certain extent because we need the money base, the money supply to grow with the economy. If it doesn't, you can really slow down growth. But the point is, we want to have those growth rates be similar. So if the economy is trying to grow at 4%, which is a healthy growth rate, we want the money supply to also grow at that rate. So what can happen, and where the worry is today, if the money supply is growing at, say, 6 to 7%, which it has done over the last several years, then that can lead to very significant price increases in the goods and services that we have, which eats at your savings. It really hurts your living standard. Now, the big concern and the policy concern right now revolves around Ben Bernanke and what he is doing. It's called quantitative easing. Now, what is that? Quantitative easing is when Ben Bernanke literally pushes a button in a computer at the Federal Reserve and deposits cash. He's creating money out of thin air at the banks or within the bond market. And what he's doing there with that created money, really the goal is to lower interest rates throughout the whole yield curve. And his hope there is that will help to spur economic growth. Some people think this is very dangerous. I'm going to get into the two schools of thought in just a second. But it's important, I think, to kind of try to understand where Ben Bernanke is coming from. He is a student, a scholar, if you will, of the Great Depression. He's written extensively on it. And the one belief that he holds, and I think is probably very true, was during the Great Depression, it went on for as long as it did because the money supply contracted. And that made it very hard for economic activity to occur. And Ben Bernanke, with all of the monetary inflation, is really trying to fight what he believes is a potential danger, and that's deflation. So he's trying to pump a lot of money into the system because he doesn't want to see us get caught in a deflationary cycle like we did back in the 30s. So I think it's important to understand that. And in fact, I found some video of Ben Bernanke when he was a little boy in his efforts to help during the latter stages of the Great Depression. Here's that video. Okay, kidding aside, I do want to go through and kind of give the scenario as to what I think Ben Bernanke sees and what he's doing, and just give the backdrop to the whole economic situation as he sees it. But first, I think it's important to note something about the personal savings rate in our country. And right now, you should be looking at a chart that shows the savings rate around 1960s, where the chart starts. And through up until 1980, we see that the savings rate hovered in the 7.5, 10, maybe a little bit higher range. But then in 1980, you can see the savings rate just drops dramatically. And that is because that was the beginning of the credit boom, when money became very easy to get. And this went on for the better part of 30 years. And what we saw at the end of '08 was the credit boom came to a screeching halt. And then the savings rate started to go back up because individuals, a little bit scared, were trying to repair their balance sheets. But what happened was we now had a big, huge hole in what is referred to as aggregate demand. That's why we're in a recession. The economy was slowing down and actually reversing a little bit. Well, Ben Bernanke believed that that was a problem and that very potentially this could lead us into a deflationary spiral. And that's where I think it's very important to try to understand that the two basic economic theories that are going on. Now, Ben Bernanke, some people refer to him as a Keynesian, and John Maynard Keynes was a very famous economist who came up with the idea that when individual spending went down, that the government could come in and stimulate the economy with spending to get that aggregate demand back up. Now, there's a competing school of thought, and it's called by the Austrian economists. And the Austrian economic thought is very different. It's a very free market-oriented school of thought. And F.A. Hayek, von Mises, these are two of the economists that have written extensively about this school of thought. And for those of you that are very interested in this, I really compel you to try to learn a little bit because it'll help you understand what is going on. The Austrian school of thought is not really worried too much about a deflationary spiral because they think that this is just the market clearing things out. Well, that's really not what Ben Bernanke believes, and that's what we have. So we've got this a large amount of money being created coming into the market, and I do want to bring up kind of the effect of it over the last year or so with all the quantitative easing, because right now we're on quantitative easing number 3. It has lowered interest rates tremendously, and a lot of people have been able to go out and refinance their house, and you have seen prices come back up. So in effect, it can help, but we have to be careful about the long-term effects. What does that really mean? And is it so bad that housing prices stay down for a period of time? Well, again, only time is going to tell exactly how this is going to work out. But there are these huge excess reserves now in the bank, and those monies really haven't found their way into the economy yet, but that is the worry. Now, how do we deal with this? Are we on the path to very significant price increases down the road? What do we do in our portfolios to head off the effects of that if and when it does come? That is a topic for our next discussion, including these 4 economic environments that I had mentioned in our last video. So I guess the lesson here today, I hope that some of you will try to understand the differences between the Keynesian thought, the Austrian economics thought. I think that will help a lot of us deal with the uncertainty that we see in the market and how the different leaders are trying to attack the problem. Thanks for your time today, and until next time, enjoy your day.